In addition to regularly forcing families to exhaust their savings or cut back on food or clothing, such debt also prevents, and this is the key issue, residents from meeting their basic needs by marrying their access to credit, meaning access to home ownership. A different number of issues, again, treating medical debt as if they purchased a car and not actually sought health services. I believe this is wrong. Undergoing, Mr. Chair, a medical procedure should never haunt someone financially. No one chooses to be sick. I think folks don't realize how incredibly important it is to fix credit reporting. It's literally the access to economic opportunities. So even if you're doing so well but you get sick, again, it gets on your credit report. It impacts literally whether or not you're able to thrive later, or whether or not you even can get a loan for a car. Thank you to my colleagues for this opportunity to talk about the impact of a number of policies on my constituents. Today I want to talk about two issues affecting our residents: medical debt as a factor in credit reports and auto insurance discrimination. Roughly 20%, Mr. Chair, of Americans have medical debt, and it's a tremendous amount of burden. To make matters worse, medical debt has questionable predictive value. It is not necessary to use medical debt to predict a borrower's future credit risk. Furthermore, debt collectors often rely on inaccurate information, as many of our residents have told us, also pressuring those recovering from illnesses to pay bills they might not even owe. The issue also hits particularly hard in communities like mine, where residents already face challenges with access to credit and have long advocated on behalf of those saddled with medical debt. For instance, my Restoring Unfairly Impaired Credit and Protecting Consumers Act would prohibit outright the reporting of medical debt on consumer reports among those provisions to protect consumers. A medical emergency should not and need not send a family into financial ruin. I've seen it with my families who literally have a loved one with cancer and so forth, literally go bankrupt, preventing them, again, from truly being able to thrive in our country. I urge my colleagues to please join me in ensuring that no family has to face such difficulties by please supporting this bill and bringing it before this committee for consideration. The next issue I would like to now discuss is about auto insurance discrimination. Auto insurance is keeping my residents in a cycle of poverty. It's really important for folks to know marital status, credit score, all of those things should not be factors in whether or not somebody's a good driver. And right now, this has been impacting folks in order to take like a new job or go to school or deal with a medical emergency. One needs to access reliable transportation. And for many of my residents in my district, it's access to a car. Yet Michigan has one of the most expensive car insurance in the nation. So it is outrageous for me that my residents get asked whether or not they're married, what kind of education level they have, their credit score, all of it is really incredibly hurtful in being put towards the auto insurance rates. This summer, I know Michigan residents saw a 42% fee increase by the Consumer Michigan Catastrophic Claims Association, adding to high fees that are already unaffordable for many of our families. I know when I saw the University of Michigan report showing somebody with a DUI drinking under the influence, but he had a lower credit score compared to someone with a very decent credit score, but not as high, but he had no DUI. The person that had the DUI, drinking under the influence, was paying 3 times higher in auto insurance rates than the person that did not have any violation. So we must stop using these non-driving factors in auto insurance rates. So again, I'm really grateful for my amazing partner in this is Congresswoman Bonnie Watson-Coleman. We have the Prohibit Auto Insurance Discrimination Act, which would prohibit the use of these proxies like education and zip codes to calculate insurance rates. Again, thank you so much for this opportunity to uplift my residents and some of the struggles that they have, and hopefully colleagues would work with me on Financial Services Committee on these issues.
Thank you. Thank you for testimony on important policy matters, and I thank you for making it here for Member Day, and you're the final testimony of the day. I'll yield to the ranking member.
Thank you very much. Ms. Tlaib, I want to thank you for your strong leadership in highlighting all the problems with medical debt. And I'd like to just get a little advice from you here. Of course, we know how it unfairly tarnishes so many consumers' credit scores the way the information gets reported by the major credit bureaus. There's no research that shows medical debt is a good indicator of individual's creditworthiness. If you get sick and need medical care, that should not affect your ability to take out a loan, renting an apartment, or even getting a job. But that's exactly what has happened, given the way our broken credit reporting system works. After working on this issue myself for more than a decade, I was pleased the national credit bureaus have taken steps to remove some medical debt information from consumers' credit reports. However, much more needs to be done, and I'm pleased that CFPB Director Chopra is taking further steps to address this issue. Mr. Lee, we've not held any hearings in our committee this year exploring this issue in any depth. Do you believe that the committee should hold a hearing with the CEOs of the national credit bureaus and experts on these issues, and then look to mark up your bill and others put forward by members of our committee to fix our broken credit reporting system? What do you think?
Yes, and Ranking Member, as you know, we did actually have the 3 largest credit reporting agencies before our committee, and many of us were able to ask some of the tough questions that many of my residents are asking, which is even, paid debt. I know the chair and I talked about medical debt and his personal experiences of something getting, paid, but it's still showing up on people's credit report. I think folks don't realize how incredibly important it is to fix credit reporting. It's literally the access to economic opportunities. So even if you're doing so well but you get sick, again, it gets on your credit report. It impacts literally whether or not you're able to thrive later, or whether or not you even can get a loan for a car. People are now looking at credit reports, Ranking Member, for employment. They're looking at it for, folks look to it as some sort of factor in whether or not that this person should be, getting a loan or for housing or whatever. But again, medical debt, to me, it's not like somebody's like, hey, I'm just going to go and rank up medical debt. They're sick. And sometimes it's actually, the majority of the time, when you hear folks talk about filing for bankruptcy in our country, a big, huge factor is medical debt. It's somebody in their family or themselves getting, very sick. And again, cancer is one that I hear consistently in my district. Folks that have to, pay an exorbitant amount of money because their insurance doesn't cover fully, because they're underinsured or not covered as much. It is the prescription drugs that continue to pile on my residents. And again, they may not have to pay the full amount, but all of it adds up, especially when it takes months and sometimes years to recover from a serious illness.
Thank you so very much, and your being here today certainly helps put more focus on the issue, and I certainly will work with the chairman to see what we can do in terms of the hearings that you're suggesting.